The live show, I can't remember what live show it was. Did I write this? Pow pow. Boop. Whoa.
Oh, hello, Papa.
Trying to get it right.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Today we are going to be doing my mid-month wrap-up. So if you would like to know what I've read so far this month, then just keep on. Okay, so for those of you that have not been living under a rock on Booktube, Book Twitter, Book social media over the last 7 days, you will know that Jade from Jade Reads has been running Polarthon for the first week in Feb. So I've read quite a few books this month so far. This is not going to be the norm. But yeah, so far I've read quite a few books. But unfortunately I've already had to DNF too. So first up, one is a temporary DNF and one is a permanent throw it in the bin, never to be spoken of ever again. I'm going to pretend it never existed, DNF. So, we're going to start off with the bad one first. And this is Given to the Sea by Mindy McGuinness. There was a live show at the beginning of the week, Monday or Tuesday, where I asked the girls when they were on live whether I should DNF Given to the Sea, because I tried to read it first. I don't know. I asked the girls on live if I should DNF this, because on page 1 of the book, the way that the writing was, I was just like, Visual, why are you writing like that? I don't understand. And I thought maybe it was just me, and then I read a couple of reviews on Goodreads, and then I was kind of like, maybe it's not me. But then there were some really good reviews on Goodreads, so I was like, maybe it is me. Then I asked Jade, and oh boy did she have an opinion on this book. And I'm glad she did, because if I'd have continued reading this book and come across those things that she mentioned, and trigger warning, I'm going to mention some things about potential sexual assault and rape. So yeah, if that triggers you at all, then please just feel free to skip ahead when I talk about the next book, so I'll try to remember to put a timestamp down below. I just asked the girls live if I should DNF this, and Jade told me to DNF, throw in the bin. And this is why. Okay, so the premise sounds great. There's a girl who is, I say it sounds great. It sounds great for a fantasy sort of like intriguing book. There's girls that are bred, like bred. I don't know how to word this. Girls are bred, and when they come of age, they have their own child, and when they have a daughter, they are given to the sea as a sacrifice. I can't remember why they do this, but they do this. And there are only certain women that are sacrificed to the sea. And there's a girl called Koshka, who is supposed to be one of these girls, but she cannot stand the touch of people. She cannot abide it. So she doesn't know how she's going to be able to be intimate with someone in order to create a child, and she's not really a fan of being given to the sea either. So this was supposed to follow her on her journey of that, and I was like, right, great, empowering women who wants to stand up for like what she wants. Like, she doesn't want to be given to the sea, she doesn't want to be touched by people. So this was really intriguing. And then I found out that the king sort of basically pimps her out to get raped by, like, sexually assaulted by people, like forcing people to get her pregnant. And I was like, no, this is not like it's an old school misogynistic male that's written this. This was written by a woman, and it was written by a woman maybe 4 years ago, who is apparently supposed to be a feminist. And the whole thing baffled me. I mean, she may have been writing this to basically to say, like, you shouldn't let men treat you this way, you shouldn't let people treat you this way, like, have your own mind and that kind of thing. But the way in which she writes just doesn't lead me to believe that that would be the case, because, and if it was the case, it's going to make it very difficult to understand, because she doesn't write it in plain English. She writes it in a very convoluted way, and it's all written in first person, so I'm not 100% sure how that message would ever get portrayed. As a first person narrative, I don't really know how an author would be able to portray that kind of message. Based on that, and just the fact that that made me feel a little bit, more than a little bit sick. That, I'm not even going to take it to a charity shop, because I do not want to put any poor soul through this. I hate binning books. I will only bin a book if it's on its last legs, other than this. And it's going in the bin. End of story. So that was the negative one out of the way. And that will never be spoken again about on my channel. Next DNF, but this is a temporary DNF, is Northern Lights by Philip Pullman, and it's part of the His Dark Materials series. Is that a series? My mind is boggled. I did start reading this, and as you can see, I did tab a few areas, but I was in the middle of Polarthon. I got like 175 pages in, and I was reading a lot of middle grade, which I wasn't opposed to reading an adult fantasy in Polarthon, hence why I picked this up, because so many people like it. But I felt like, because I wanted to get through a certain amount of books within a certain time period, and I literally could come off the back of some really amazing middle grade books that left me like up here. I then went on to this writing style, which was totally different. This is a kind of book that I'm going to have to sit down, focus on and read, because I got through 175 pages of this, and I can honestly say I can't even remember the main character's name. Lyra. She's called Lyra. I can remember bits about it, like priests something, she's got a demon friend that accompanies her everywhere, the Aurora Borealis or Northern Lights, like, things. So I don't think I was in the right headspace for this book at this particular moment in time, when I was trying to get through Polarthon, and I was in readathon marathon mode, and I was, yeah, I just don't think I was in the right headspace for this. So rather than try and push through it and then leave myself feeling like, oh my god, I've just forced myself through that book, I don't think it's fair to the author. Not that he's ever going to read my review, because I'm a nobody, but there you go. But I don't think it's fair to any future reader that might read a review that I put out, that I review this based on how I felt at that particular time when I was trying to complete a readathon. That it just wasn't fair. So I've put that down for now. I will come back to it at some point, TBR depending. So it's going to stay on my TBR cart. And yeah, when I start it again, I will start it from the beginning again. And then we're going to move on to the lowest rated book from the books that I read and enjoyed. So we're going to end on the high, and we're going to go into Forest of Moon and Sword by Amy Raphael. And I'm going to start off by saying, and preface this by saying, this is in no way a bad book, but I rated it a 3-star. And I'll tell you for why. I will tell you for why. Sorry, I've just realised that I spelt Northern Lights wrong on my Copilot spreadsheet, and it was bugging me, so I had to change it away because I'm weird. This follows a young girl whose mother is captured and taken away by soldiers because she's believed to be a witch. She's in Scotland, and in the beginning, they took a lot of witches out, or witches, people that believed, women that believed were witches, and they would either get killed, or there was one, just by chance, there was one that was going to get taken away to Essex, to be, like, publicly hanged, and then some of them witches that were killed straight away. Coincidentally, it was her mother that got taken to Essex. So she, as a 12-year-old girl, decided to not stay in the town where people thought that she was a witch, which is fair enough, and to travel from Scotland to Essex on a horse to rescue her mother by herself, with no magical powers whatsoever, just some cheese, some bread, some water for sustenance, and a recipe book full of natural remedies that her mother gave her. Yeah. So, to begin with, I was like, we're going on an adventure, and I thought it would be great. I thought, a young, independent girl fighting for a mother, pow pow pow. But it just wasn't that, unfortunately. The writing style was fine. The story itself was okay. Are you getting the gist that it's just okay? But this is a 294, is it? 294 page book. This could have done with being 100 to 150 pages more. Despite following art from the beginning to the end of the book, there was very little, if any, character development. We didn't find out much more about her other than the fact that she was trying to save her mother. She met some people along the way who were alright, but we still didn't really get to know much about them. It felt like this had been over edited. It felt like she'd written the book, and then I read it was like, nah, we just want you to make sure that it's under 300 pages. Just cut a load out. So someone's gone in and just cut a lot out without really paying attention to, like, how the story's going to read to someone. So yeah, there was that. I'm not going to sit here and slate the book, because it was a good book. I just really wished it would have been 100 to 150 pages more, and that we got more character development. And the ending, spoiler but not spoiler, but if you don't really want to know the ending, then you could just skip ahead. I know, yeah. The ending was just very convenient. She wanted to save her mother. They didn't have any obstacles. A 12-year-old and her friends saved her mother from apparently a heavily guarded jail thing with no issues, and it was kind of like wrapped up with a neat little ball and boop. If you would like to see my reading vlog where I read this book, then I will leave it linked above. These next books are all 5 stars. They've just got slightly different ratings on Corpile. So, we've got Frostfire that is got a 9, like got 9s across the board. Was it 9s across the board? Frostfire, yes. Got 9s across the board. Okay, so this was a 5-star. This was brilliant. This was very heartwarming. Follows a young girl called Sabira, who she's got to go to a glacier and get a piece of frost liver to bond with, and this then gives her powers. There's only a certain amount of children that get chosen for this. I won't spoil it by saying what happens. There's something else that happens prior to her having to go up this mountain to the glacier. But when things go bad on her journey, I'll just say that, when things go bad on her journey, it's about her finding the strength to push through despite things going against her. And that I love. A determined young girl, not to give up on herself, on the people she loves, on doing what's right. Like, just all the feels. Loved it. I can't wait for the sequel to this. I don't know when it's coming out. I did post on my social media when I'd read this, and Jamie kindly sent me some unpublished works to look at, so I'm going to read them and hopefully keep up with when he's going to release the sequel to this, because I would love to know more of his writing. Next up we have, with a 9.14, is A Winter's Promise. So, Winter's Promise. This was also in this was the last book in my 24-hour impromptu readathon, which I didn't think through before I started, and I will leave that linked above as well if you would like to read that, because it was a time. That's all I'm gonna say. This got 9s across the board apart from enjoyment, which is a 10. I thoroughly enjoyed this. The reason I gave enjoyment a 10 is because there wasn't a thing about this book, there wasn't a time during this book where I just thought, oh my god, I'm bored. It is obviously a thick book. It's like over 400 pages, but the writing is very small, so it does take a while to get through. I listened to the audiobook while I read along with this, so I got it on 2 speed, so that heavily knocked down the reading time on this. It is a long haul. That makes it sound worse than what it is, but if you're looking for a kind of action sort of boom boom boom, it's not. It's really not. It follows Ophelia. The world was smashed into pieces, and these big pieces are arcs, and on each arc there are people that are on there that have different powers, and they are run differently. For instance, as you'll find out in this book, Anima is where Ophelia is from. All of the people it's incestuous, really. All the people are like marrying the cousins, and they're all part of the same family that are on the arc, and basically her family been trying to marry her off to all of these different cousins, and she's been refusing. So then the doyens, which are these people, I don't even know who they are really. I don't think they're like the top people on her arc, have decided to marry her off to a guy from a frosty, cold arc called the Pole. Yeah, it just follows her going on that journey. She is, to begin with, very quiet. She's very unkempt, and she's a reader, so she can like read the thoughts of the people. When she touches an object, she can read the thoughts of the people that touched it. So she wears gloves. She wears these special gloves a lot, and she can also travel through mirrors. She is a very interesting character, and I know some people found her quite boring or quite annoying, but given the situation of where she's from and the family that she's got, I can totally understand why she is not the most talkative, why she's not loud, because if you are an introverted kind of person and you're constantly around people that are like her family, and you feel like you don't have your own voice, I can totally 100% understand why she is the way she is. But I think she is the way she is because she likes museums, she likes her own company, and she's never really been into the kind of things that her family. She's got a really overbearing, strong mum. The women in her family are really overbearing and loud. So her dad's really quiet, and she's really quiet. So if you've got people, yeah, like I said, if you've got people like that in your family that are really loud and in your face and frankly quite rude and stuck up, and if you're an introvert kind of person, you're going to be that way. So I kind of understood her feeling that way. Sometimes I really did want to stand up for herself and be like, no, shut up. Which she started to do in this isn't a spoiler, but she does start to find her feet and start to pick up for herself more, which I really appreciate, because had she have not had any character growth during this book, that would have been annoying, because given the situation she's thrown into, you would expect somebody to change and Do you know what I mean? You'd expect a bit of character growth. You know what I mean? So I really enjoyed this. It ended on like a shit. What happens next? So I've ordered the next book. And I'm going to be going on to the next book. TBR dependent. Hopefully next month. And then we have Polar Bear Explorers Club, which was I gave it a 10 for characters, a 10 for writing, and then the rest were 9s on core piles. It came out on 9.29, but it was still a 5-star read, and I tabbed. Okay, so the blue tabs are for important information. The pink tabs, what were the pink tabs? Pink tabs were for Easter eggs, and the green tabs were for descriptions. So the Easter eggs that I'll put in there is what I think is gonna be brought up in the follow-up books, which I've also ordered. Because this is just great. I love Stella. I love all the characters that she meets. Initially I didn't like Ethan, but he is a classic example of you don't judge a book by its cover. So I'll leave that there, and you can read the book yourself, which I highly recommend you do. All these are middle grade, and as I said before, I haven't read middle grade since I was young, and even then I didn't really read much of anything, to be fair, other than Jacqueline Wilson books. I really do remember loving Jacqueline Wilson books, but I'm absolutely loving middle grade thanks to Gavin and Jade. And then the descriptions. This is the descriptions of Beanie. Beanie's got a place in my heart that's just like, I just can't. He is just so sweet. Okay. It doesn't doesn't say outright that he has autism or Asperger's or that he's on the spectrum in some way, but just the descriptions of what he's like and what people say he's like just makes me think he's on the spectrum. Okay, so I'll read you a little bit of it. Said he's just not like other children, he said. He won't let anyone hug him, not even his mother. No doubt it's the elf blood in him, because his mum's an elf, so they're blaming it on that. Giving him all these strange ideas of fancies and whimsies. You saw the way he fussed over those carrots at the dinner table, lining them up inside his order before he ate them. It's not normal. So he does things like that, and he like separates his jelly beans into colours, and he takes everything literally. So, and he's so soft spoken, he's just so sweet, and he's so loyal to Stella, and he's just an absolute dream of a character. And I really felt for him. I hated his uncle, and I hated the way people spoke to him at first. I hated the way Ethan treated him at first. And yeah, so that was 5 stars. Loved it. And then we have, what do we have? The next 3 books got 10s across the board. And these books are Frost Heart 1 and 2 and The Twisted Tree. So, Twisted Tree was the first book I read of this week, and I absolutely loved this. I cannot wait for the next one. I'm ordering the next one. So this follows a girl called Martha. You can tell things about a person just by touching their clothes. It is only clothes, it's not a person. It's just the clothes. And different clothes hold different types of memories and different feelings, and it's just amazing to know. And she's only just found out that she can do this after an accident where she'd fallen from a tree, and initially we don't know why she'd fallen from that tree. It's all very suspicious. It's very weird. But it starts with her on her way to see her grandma to find out more about why she's suddenly having these feelings, because she's written to her grandma and told about them. And then when she gets there, she meets a boy called Stig. Or Stig, I don't know how you pronounce. I don't know if you have to pronounce it with some kind of different way, but I'll call him Stig. This it's quite haunting in places. It's not an airy fairy read. It's quite dark in places, but I loved it, and it's only short. I'm gutted it was this short, but unlike the Forest of Sword and Moon and Sword, this is short, but you get a hell of a lot in this small book. So we find out a lot about Martha, and we find a bit about Stig. We find out we've found out so much. We found out so much, and by the end of this book, I am just itching to pick up the next book because I want to know what the frick. That's all I'm going to say, is that if you like fantasy with a bit of folklore tied in and just very mythical and very, yeah, just atmospheric is the word, then I would 100% recommend The Twisted Tree. But I also just love the aesthetic of this book. This is my aesthetic, and if goth type clothing went up to my size, I would wear this aesthetic daily. I have so much love for these books, and if I could get these in special edition hardbacks or something, I would, because these two are just chef's kiss. This is a Frost Heart 1 and 2, and if you don't already know, if you've never watched Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin, then where have you been? I don't know where I've been for the last 2 years of these books. These books follow, do it in order. So the first book follows a young boy, well they both follow a young boy called Ash, but the first book introduces you to Ash. And he lives on a stronghold, and his parents left him under the guardianship of the people that lived there when they were pathfinders, and they went out on a pathfinding journey and didn't come back home. Ash later finds out that he is a song weaver, and song weavers are like a forbidden sort of people. People are scared of them because there are things called leviathans out in the wild that want to eat and kill people, and when he sings he can speak to the leviathans, and it is thought that the leviathans can speak to the song weavers and take over their minds and control them and make them do things that they do, bad things to people. So people don't like him, and he's an outcast in his village. He is then put under the guardianship of a yeti called Tobu, and my god, I want a Tobu in my life. I just want a Tobu, because he's stern, he tries to act all hard, but you know he's just a softie. You know he actually really cares about Ash, even though he's like, initially like, I don't want to look after a child, and he's just great. And he says, like, he follows him onto the Frost Heart when Ash didn't really want him to, and he's saying, I'm doing it because, you know, I told him I would look after you, and clearly that's not the only reason. Clearly he cares about Ash, and Ash is an outcast just like Tobu was an outcast, and he's just brilliant. And then he meets all the people of the Frost Heart, and everyone on the Frost Heart is just great, and just, There's a guy in here that we meet called Shard. I do not like him from the moment I meet him. And that is all I'm going to say. And then this second book follows them on their journey after the events of what happens in this, and they need to go to Aurora because he thinks that his parents are there. So this is about him trying to find Aurora, and it's hidden, and it's just an adventure to find, continuing adventure to find his parents. These two books are just so heartwarming and perfectly written, and it gives you all the feels. Like, the atmosphere is great, the intrigue. I really want to read book 3, and again, like, this is really strange for me. It's like when I write reviews and tag people in things, like, I'm getting responses from authors, which is just so strange, because when I used to do makeup related stuff, I used to just tag people in makeup looks and stuff like that, and I very rarely got any response, which I didn't expect, because, you know, the makeup brands, they don't respond to everyone. But actually tagging people and getting responses from people, I'm just like, oh shit, right, thank you for responding. You didn't have to. I didn't do it just so you would, but thank you, I appreciate it. Also, bring out your next book, thanks. Yeah, so these two, I can't wait for book 3. I'm hoping it's going to be out this year. I've heard that he's finished book 3. This is by Jamie Littler, by the way, and this is by Rachel Burge, and this is by Alex Bell, and Winter's Promise by Chris Deldebeau. I can't YouTube. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, I think Gavin said he's finished these book 3. Book 3 is the final book. I don't know why I'm tapping it. I don't know what colour we would do next though, because these are quite dark. So you could do a purple. Purple would go well with this colour scheme. Anyway, I am not a designer. I don't know why I said that. I don't know why it makes a difference. But yeah, if I was to recommend any books to you, it would be all of them. I would 100% recommend you read all of these. So they are now off my TBR cart and they're going onto my shelves permanently. However, that is not the end of my February TBR. I'm just going to let you know the books that I still need to read, because I set myself an impossibly insurmountable tower of a TBR in the shortest month of the year. So I've still got to read all of my Bookopoly books. Yeah, I have not read any of my Bookopoly books. So we've still got Dear Amy that we need to read. It's a thriller. Elantris, which we need to read, which was my adult fantasy book. I've got my historical fiction book to read, which is Almond for a Parrot, which I'm really wanting to get into. We've got the dystopian book club that I'm a part of, the Ben Book Club. I've got that to read for that, and Battle Royale, and then I've got Master of One to read as well. So I've still got these to read. I've still also got Crooked Sixpence to read, and I'm still currently reading Wolf for a Spell. So will I do all these books in 3 weeks? Probably not. But we can endeavour for greatness. What is it they say? Shoot for the moon and, you know, maybe land on the... No. Shoot for the moon and land on the stars. I don't know. I'm going to aim high anyway. And then maybe I will get a couple of books done out of this TBR. But any books that I don't finish this month, I will roll over to next month. But next month, I will be doing my TBR Pursue. If you don't know, then I'm alternating months between Bookopoly and TBR Pursuits, because they're two of my favourite TBR games. Couldn't choose one. I had to set myself up for failure by doing both, because I've got issues. One of them is how bad I miss you. No, it's not really. I watch TikTok too much as well, so that's a thing. So if you're like, this is really chaotic and extremely lengthy. I'm going to have to edit this down so much. Whoa. So if you would like to see more videos like this, and you would like to see if I actually succeed on my February TBR, which I highly doubt. If you'd like to see me fail, if you'd like to see stuff from me in future, please like, comment, subscribe, click the notification bell to make sure you're notified next time I upload. All my socials will be linked down below, including my Twitter, Instagram, Goodreads and Amazon wishlist. If you are interested in doing so, please follow me on my social. And until next time, be kind, be happy, stay true to you, and I will see you all very soon. Bye!